welcome to the last half-hour show in our series of the History of Los Alamitos. I'm your host, Myrt Perisho. We have done 10 of these half-hour shows, and this is going to be our wind-up, and it's going to be a beaut. We have two gentlemen with us that are so well known in the community, Jim Bell and Chuck Long, and we're so thrilled that they had the time to come and do this show, and of all the stories we've heard from them. Welcome, fellas. Glad you're here. Real
glad to be here.
You've got a lot of time between you and service in this community, haven't you?
Yes, we do.
Yep, 58 years between you. You devils, you. You got some stories, haven't you? Chuck, let's start with you on our program this time. There was quite a project that you had to mediate, the City Council had to mediate, dealing with the Navy and Mr. Van Rooten. Would you get into that story and tell us a little bit, and you jump in if you've got anything also, Jim, okay?
Well, I think a lot of problems turn out to be opportunities. And there was a problem that existed for the Navy. The approach to the landing strip was, there was a danger of an infringement, and Mr. Van Rooten owned land that was in this zone that was felt by the Navy to be dangerous for the landing of aircraft.
Is that where the golf course is over there?
It would be, it's on the south side of Catella and the very east end of the city.
Okay.
You got industry out there now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the problem was that Mr. Van Rooten needed to sell some of his land, and he wanted to sell it for some type of a development. People had come in wanting to put in residence there, and this was the problem of the fear of a plane landing on these residences. So there had been a lot of dickering back and forth between the Navy and the Van Rooten, trying to keep him from developing it. So we thought that best, instead of, there might be a solution to this. So I went and talked to the captain of the base at the time and asked him if he didn't think it was possible to trade some land of Navy property to Mr. Van Rooten so that a development could continue on. He would be getting his money, and then the development could proceed. But unfortunately, they had reached a point where they were not talking. It was impossible to get the two people together. So since I knew both parties, I went to, as I say, to the captain, and then later I went to Mr. Van Rooten. I remember going out in his milking barn with him and talking with him and making his proposal.
We had to follow him around a little.
Yeah. He just kept working?
Yep.
And so anyway, he said yes, that he would have his attorney talk to the Navy. And so that was the way that suburbia was developed. There was a land trade. It took some time, but it was traded. The Navy was satisfied. The city was satisfied because we didn't have to worry about a plane landing on somebody's head. And then the trade, and then we did get a beautiful subdivision known as Suburbia.
Did. Suburbia, which was Navy land.
Yeah, at one time was Navy land.
That's quite a story. I bet a lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah, when I came here, that's where the airplanes used to land their target. As they flew over, they'd turn it loose.
And the target
in
came
that
down
particular
right there.
area, yes.
Oh, gosh.
That was a landing for that.
Well, then the Navy's got to be happy. No one will
About
ever
18
bother
planes
them.
at a time.
18?
18 or more.
What kind of planes were they?
Oh, I don't know what you'd call them back them days, but there's all props. You know, no jets.
Well, also, we want to talk about the first 10 years that after the city was incorporated. Give us a little feel for what happened in those 10 years.
Well, it's been a little while ago, but I think, remember some of the things. As we have stated once before, I believe that we started to organize the different commissions that we needed, the different departments that the city needed. And of course, in order to do most of these things, we had to have ordinances and resolutions, which some of them were very, very important to have, and it's fortunate that we had the personnel that we had at that time, and they brought over many of the ordinances and resolutions from some other cities that they had done. So I don't recall how many we signed about the first meeting or two, but there's quite a few ordinances because it was important to do so. And
How was the rapport amongst the councilmen those first 10 years?
Oh, they were real good, I thought. I mean, we all seemed to think alike almost, most all the time. Of course, there was differences at times, but not too rare, not too great a difference. But I think we selected, or the community selected, real good people, you know.
Sure did. And you
all
had
the
this
time.
common goal, no matter how you're going to get to it, the goal was the city.
That's right. We was always for the city and for the people. The better we could do for them, why the better they would be. And
did you have a good attendance the first couple city council meetings? Did many people come the first year?
Yes, we had a pretty good attendance at times. Sometimes, you know, I think if you begin to tell them you're going to touch their pocketbooks, see, we weren't the richest community them days. Why, they'd fill up the city hall.
Sort of like today.
Or the area we had for city hall at
Which
that
was
time.
where?
Because we had to make a contract with the Los Alamitos County Water District, which was already in existence then, for a place for the city council and all the departments. So
where did you meet?
we met in the Water District building where they meet, where their board meets.
Is that little house over by City Hall now?
That's the one, yeah.
Okay, where the chamber is
on the
now?
corner of the...
Did you ever meet in the museum, have city council meetings inside the firehouse, which is now the
No,
museum?
we never had council meetings there. I think our original first meeting, correct me Chuck, was wrong if I'm wrong, was in the school building down here at Laurel.
Oh.
Laurel School. I think that's where we held our first meeting and kind of did a little bit of voting and organizing.
How was what was your first commission that you appointed? What was the first one you felt you had to have?
I believe it was the Planning Commission, although the building department was very important too, which is not a commission, but we had to get personnel for that.
And how did everything go with that first commission?
Well, the original Planning Commission went well for a couple of years, and then I think they got a little bit too much in politics, and the council dismissed them all. and then the Planning Commission was the city council after that for a while.
For a while.
And then the council formed about 3 members of the council, and that was the Planning Commission for a while.
So you really appointed one twice.
Right. So we did away with the Planning Commission, then we came back with the Planning Commission in later years.
And has it always stayed then?
Yes,
it's always
been
there. And but
there's
you said
been
it was
some
a
talk
three-man?
about eliminating it since, but they haven't.
Every once in a while, everyone talks about that,
Yeah.
don't they? What were the desires and the goals of the city council in the very beginning?
Well, I think it followed through just as the purpose of incorporating was to give service to the community for the needed, with needed departments, so they wouldn't have to go to Santa Ana to get the building permits. Recreation was to give additional recreation to the area. And I think that these goals, as far as I know, I've been out for a while, I think are the same, is to give service to the community. And that is the goal of what we wanted from the very beginning.
And you had
I think also have a little more local control of
Local
the finances, the taxes, and what have you that people would pay. So.
and you didn't want too many rules and regulations. Is that
right.
the feeling that you leaned towards?
That was the beginning of where we felt that we wanted to have the least amount of regulations as possible, so that the people themselves didn't feel that they were under pressure at all. We didn't want this. One thing that I think both of us been very proud of is this city has never had a bond. We've never had a bonded indebtedness. We were able to pay for the city hall as we went. When the police, we actually formed a contract whereby we paid it off in time, but not under a bond. We were able to make all the payments for all of our buildings out of budgeting over a period of years.
Well, that's wonderful.
So
Not many
nobody-
towns can say that.
That's right. And as far as I know to this date, there's no bonded indebtedness against the city.
And it's such a good-looking building. Whoever planned that and designed
They
it, I
still have a
like that
surplus.
building. They still have a
Which
surplus?
I'm very proud of, yes.
I love it when I hear a city has a surplus. I've got all kinds of ideas. Now, Catella is such an unusual name. How did it get that name? the street
Yeah.
Catella that runs through our town. You tell us, Jim.
Well, there was a gentleman who lived in the area in Orange County, further on down this Catella, and he had two daughters. One was named Kate and one was named Ella. And this is how that street got its name, was after Kate and Ella, so they named it Catella.
And that runs...
After, I mean, this was way back in the beginning of the street. They named it Kate and
It was
Catella.
kind of interesting is when the street was actually open to go into Long Beach, Catella, because before it did not go all the way through.
Right, stopped right
Both
here.
Kate and Ella were at this dedication
Were they
meeting.
really?
They were there when it went on into
And
Long
what
Beach.
age were they then?
Quite elderly people, women at that time.
So they came for, that must have been a thrill for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it runs clear to the mountains, Catella? Just
It goes clear across, just about all the way across to Orange County, in other words, from Orange, the city of Orange, over to Long Beach line, LA County line. Then it changes to Willow, and then I think it's Sepulveda on further. But it goes from almost from the coast to the foothills.
So it's Catella, Willow, and Sepulveda, or Sepulveda, as my mother and dad call it when they come out to visit. And you had something kind of interesting happen to you a couple weeks after the city incorporated. Chuck, you want to tell about that?
Yes, that was it. 1960 was a very interesting year for me. My wife and I married. We'd been married before, but it was I married her. She had children, and I did too. So we combined and made a his, hers, and ours to 7. Then later, we had our 8th, and it's been very rewarding all through the years. Not only with seeing the city grow, to see the family grow.
Now this was 2 weeks after you incorporated. He went and got married.
Yes,
And
he
now did he
did.
leave on a honeymoon or something like that?
Well, I
and
think
leave
he
you?
was gone a short period of time. We kind of limited him, I think,
Oh, I'll
if
bet.
I remember right.
Where'd you go on your honeymoon?
Took a trip north. I think we went all the way up to San Francisco, and then we visited some relatives up in Northern
So
California.
you had just, what, a week maybe?
About a week
I
is
bet you
about
felt a
all
lot
we've
of
got.
pressure to get back since it was new.
He
Yeah.
probably went up to see if Jan could still go down those banisters.
That
Well,
was
if they saw the
before,
last
though.
show, they'll know what you're talking about. So they have to follow this closely. Well, you have a great line, Jim, that you told the city when you fellows sort of as a group left as city councilmen and sort of a new group came in, you had something that you told them. What was that?
Well, after we served there a number of years as city councilman, you know, we felt like we'd done most all the work. So when I left, I told them, I says, now, you people, all you have to do is keep house, and I want to see you keep a good house. So,
The house has been built, just keep house.
that's right.
And they have been doing a pretty good job.
They've been doing a good job, huh?
Yep. It's
Sure
a nice
have.
town to live in. Real proud to live here. Well, we're at halfway point in this show, and we always have then and now pictures, and it could be you guys. We have some then and nows of the two of you, so let's take it away to the then and nows. Welcome back, and we're going to start right off with Chuck Long. Chuck, there's been a lot of discussion about the shopping center going to Seal Beach and College Park being Seal Beach. I know that you probably were in on a lot of what was happening at the time. Tell us what your understanding of the situation was.
Well, Los Alamitos was successful in making 2 or 3 annexations, which we were happy that we were able to do. we were in negotiation with a S&S construction company for the development of the area south of the Naval Air Station, which would be the subdivision, what do they call it, College Park?
College Park.
East. And it lays between the freeway and the Navy Station, which rightfully we felt should have been in the city of Los Alamitos. We felt everything down to the freeway.
Makes sense, certainly.
And but in this negotiation, there was requests made by the subdivider, which was putting in the water system and also a flood control bridge over one of the flood controls. Well, we did not feel that that was proper for us, the people of Los Alamitos, to pay for these extra services or extra pipelines and all to make it possible for that annexation. So, not feeling that it was proper, we said, no, we would not make these improvements for you. I understand later that Seal Beach did go ahead and pay for, in other words, the people of Seal Beach did pay for their water system to get went in. I hope I'm telling the truth, but this is the story that I heard.
Everything on this series is everyone's version.
My understanding that the people of Seal Beach as a whole paid for the water system. And they were also associated with the shopping center too. And they were wanting concessions too, that again, the city of Los Alamitos couldn't afford, but either also morally couldn't prejudge or say yes, they could have certain types of zoning at a later time. So that's why they went on to Seal Beach as I know it.
Well, what all did Seal Beach have to do for the shopping center? The same thing, the water and...
Okay, now with Seal Beach, the shopping center itself is a different type of an annexation. They were able to just request to be annexed to a city. There was no vote because the property owners owned all the property and it didn't have to go to a vote of the people.
So that's
the story as I know it.
And it makes such a strange little finger in the map, doesn't it?
That's right.
Coming up. Yeah. Well, there's, Jim, I want you to tell me about something I didn't know about until you fellows told me this the other night. And I think it's interesting. I think all of our listeners should always be sort of on the lookout for this. Tell me about the Brown Act.
Well, the Brown Act was established several years ago. That is that no councilman or no three councilmen could ever meet together unless it was an official meeting and open to the public. So they had to be aware of sometimes meeting, you know, and people would think that they was holding meetings about the city. So this is illegal, and therefore you cannot meet three together.
Now
You can in social affairs, that is where there's other people. But just as the three people,
just can't go off
illegal.
alone.
That's right.
That must be hard in a town this size.
Well, it
and
was
you're
at
all
times.
friends
It was
anyway.
at times. Yeah, but we'd always try to arrange for other people to be around or be with us whenever we were there, and I think most of them do now. But
has anyone ever called anything on this, or?
Yes, it's been mentioned over the years that about the Brown Act, that they saw so-and-so together, you know, but that's about all.
What's the date on that Brown Act? Do you have any idea?
I don't
date?
have the real actual date on it, but it
Well, it was prior to the incorporation of Los Alamitos. That was something that's been back probably in the 50s, probably.
Also, you had a little different approach years ago when you were on the city council of, before each city council meeting, tell us what you all did.
Well, to be more informed, the city council thought it would be proper and right to hold a dinner meeting before each meeting. That is with the staff and all the personnel of the city, that is, you know, and just talk in
the
general.
The whole staff, the police chief and planning and everything.
Yeah, planning and all 5 councilmen, and sometimes we might go over some item on the agenda, and but mostly it was just discussions of different things between us all and enjoying our meal, of course. And then when we'd go back to the city hall before the meeting, well, we might meet in the back room, and of course the same place there we'd have the city staff and stuff with us.
So you weren't
and
doing
we'd-
anything with the Brown Act with having
No,
the staff there.
we'd take no action, you see.
Right.
And then we'd go over the agenda as a whole. Because, you know, you kind of feel like a fool sometimes when you go sit on the city council and something comes up and it's cold to you. I mean, you don't know which way to vote. Or So many times this may prolong a meeting, or it might be carried over to the next meeting, see. So this other was a big benefit. It speeded up the meetings, and we knew a little bit more about what we was talking about.
Sounds like a good idea. I don't think they do it now, but maybe the councilmen have to come from too far for the meeting, and getting together for dinner might be tough because a lot of them work so far out of town. I don't know. It just sounded good to me when you told me about that.
We
It might
all
help.
had to work for a living besides being
did-
on the council.
I know, but did you work closer into Los Alamitos? than you
I
can make it?
did. I worked at the Naval Air Station, of course, which was real close. And
Yeah.
Mr. Long, he worked here.
You were in town? In town also?
Yes.
He had to be here for volunteer fire department all the time.
Oh, the volunteer fire department. We didn't know where to put Chuck Long on which program because he was so active in the volunteer fire
Yeah.
department. But we decided to use him on the incorporation. Yeah, your name came up a lot with the
I'm proud
volunteer.
you did, because he's my partner.
He's your partner. Sounds like it with the two of you. Chuck, tell us about your dad's grocery store. That sure has its place in history in this town.
In 1940, when we first hit town, the population, I believe, was around 1,500 people. And Dad bought a grocery store where the animal hospital is now, just on Los Alamitos Boulevard. And we ran it till 1946. And during that time, I mentioned to you the other night a little story that happened. Dr. Ross, cat food.
Yes, Dr. Ross.
Was kind of a kidder at times. And so one time he came into the store and he wanted us to grind up the very best meat we possibly could. He took that meat back up to his cannery up here, dog and cat food factory, and he canned it and labeled it dog food. He had a party, and there he served special dog food from the can for all his guests.
Oh, that was a good one. Did he live right here in town, Dr. Ross?
Yes, he lived on the Sausalito and Regan Street, right next to the old factory.
For quite a while?
Quite some time.
Was he a real doctor? Or was that just sort of the name
Well,
of
I
his
think
company?
he was just given that name.
As the name of his food for the dog.
Dr. Ross.
Okay, his name was Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Oh. I always kind of had a feeling that. Do they still put Dr. Ross dog food out?
Not by him. Unfortunately, he went broke, and then later the name went on. But it's kind of if we have time here, where he lost his money, he had a boat, a pretty good sized boat built, and he had a cannery that was a floating cannery, and he put all his money into that. And unfortunately, there wasn't enough fish, I guess, at the time to take care of his needs. But he did.
He went broke with that.
But he did
project.
do some canning of fish, but that was the idea, was to make a dog and cat food out of the fish off a boat.
So someone else bought the name and went on.
Then it was dormant for a while, and then someone bought the name, and it's just still in existence at this present time.
You said that there was a little difference in philosophy on that first city council. You didn't know exactly what to call it. Some were a little maybe more conservative and some maybe a little more liberal. Tell us a little bit about that in the beginning.
Well, I think in every group, when you get a group of people together, there's a little bit difference, conservatism, the liberalism, and I think that was holding true on our council too. But I must say, though, they were all working for the same goal, and that was for service to the community. And after it was, I've done evaluating over the years and thought back about this, and that's true. All of the councils, right on up to the time that I left anyway, I felt all, and I'm sure they are since then, but I mean the ones I'm familiar with, they did have the town really at their heart, at their heart with the community. But as far as, I really can't pinpoint exactly why there was a difference, but there was a feeling of difference. We wanted to, Jim and I and some of the others that followed, wanted to pay as we go. We did not want to get into any charge accounts, and we just felt more comfortable about that. And I think it's proven to be certainly the right move, because the city is in good financial condition as far as I know.
And you said that first 10 years you really had a lot of fun.
We had to be careful of overstaffing too, you know, because
Overstaffing?
that's just wasted money. Yes, so
They can
sometimes
reach-
that happens in cities.
You can reach
know.
a point in government where you're just hiring people to take care of people and not putting the money into where it needs to be, and that's service back to the community.
But you did have a good time.
We were busy.
A lot of
We were-
parties and
Yeah.
We were busy,
good
and the
fun.
whole town, not just the council, but I mean the participation that we had all through the town. It seemed like we had cooperation in the town.
Oh, I've gotten that
And,
feeling from the whole series.
And we were
Well,
a
you-
very unique neighborhood.
We would
I
form
feel.
committees from the whole community, you know, to study nearly every problem or anything that came up.
So everyone got in on it.
So everybody was familiar
Well,
with it. Yeah.
we're nearing the close of this whole 10 half-hour series. If you had one wish that you could wish for our community, what would it be? You want to go first, Jim?
Well, my wish, I think, would be simply that the city continue to, as it has in the last 25 years or since its existence. That is, that it go on and they don't have to pass any bonds or put any burdens on the people. So I think this would be one of the most logical things they could do, is continue, as Mr. Long just said, pay as you go.
Pay as you go.
Yeah.
And what would your wish for Los Alamitos be, Chuck?
I think just to add on to what Jim says is service again. I think the whole purpose that the founding fathers, the purpose of the city was to serve the people, and they come first. And so I think this is what my wish would be.
They come first. That's
Is to get
good motto.
That's right. Make
Good motto.
people come first.
And you're so well thought of. I just can't tell you how many good things I hear about the two of you. Everyone that we've had on the series has just been wonderful people. It makes me wish that I grew up with you and I could have been part of that. But thank you both.
It was much fun, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I can tell just by looking in your eyes it was. Well, thank you both for being on both of our shows on the Corporation of Los Alamitos. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, to bring this series to a close, I want to tell you that it's really been an honor to have been picked to be the host of this show. The people that you've met in this series are really the true pioneers of this country. There's not a thing we enjoy in this town that they didn't start. There was nothing. They came up with all of it. We take it all so for granted. We forget that had to be a small nucleus of people that started everything we enjoy today. And there's common traits in all the people that we've done in this series. I think it's integrity, creativity, intelligence, not afraid of the unknown. They would try anything new. Lots of fun-loving people that we have done, and it's been a pleasure. Goodbye.